Thank you for watching Rolynn's Reviews. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Sometimes I just can't stop.
Holla,
Sometimes I just can't stop.
holla.
Thank you for watching Rolynn's Reviews. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Sometimes I just can't stop.
Holla,
Sometimes I just can't stop.
holla.
Thank you for watching Rolynn's Reviews. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Sometimes I just can't stop.
Holla,
Sometimes I just can't stop.
holla.
Well. Hello again, everyone, to the Rolynn's Reviews YouTube channel. You asked for her again by popular demand, and so I twisted her arm, and here she is again. Let's welcome the lovely Rhonda Morrison. How you doing? They're filling up the chat room now, the comment section. How's everyone doing? Reese and End of the Bench, JoJo, Kate, how you doing? Tina, Leslie, everyone's filling up the comment section now. So now again, we talked with Miss Morrison about her several years in education. So she's able to come, and I know most of you have an older demographic, but a lot of you have grandchildren, and some of you are raising grandchildren. Some of you are assisting your grandchildren. So she has some excellent information for you to help you. How you doing? Wake up time. Help your grandchildren or children to become more successful in school. So let's welcome again the lovely Miss Rhonda Morrison. She's going to talk to you today about helping your child or the child that's in your life become successful at test preparation and possible tutoring situations that your children may have. And just because your child receives tutoring, that's not always a negative. Sometimes you have some really smart AIG students, and they just need some extra challenges so that they don't get bored. So tutoring, it works both ways, folks. So Miss Morrison is going to go ahead and get started. How you doing, Lola? So you guys, any questions that you have, type them in the comment section. I will get to them. All right, go ahead, Miss Morrison. What do you have to say today?
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's blessed this Sunday. I got my sermon on today, enjoyed my sermon today, and it was wonderful in church today. But the thing that I was talking to Miss Rolynn about, Miss Stacy about, is I know that we taught high school together, and one of the things that we kept coming across was very disappointed parents when in the 10th, 11th grade, their child in the 10th, 11th grade, they found out that that child was not going to end up qualifying to go to a university. Because if you're sitting in the 10th, 11th grade and your GPA starts with a 1, it's going to be very difficult for them to go to UNC Chapel Hill, Duke State, any of those prestigious colleges, because it's very unlikely that by the time they graduated, they were going to be able to get the 3.85 GPA that's required to go to those schools. And also, if they have a GPA that starts with 1 or a low 2, that shows that they were not serious about their schoolwork from the beginning anyway. And so I wanted to talk today about building a foundation a successful educational foundation, which actually starts from the womb. Okay. And one of the most important things to build a positive educational foundation is to start with you as the parents. Okay. We start with you as a parent. And that's, first of all, one of the most important thing. And Obama talked about this. President Obama talked about this, is word gap. And I know that you've seen it yourself in the grocery store, out in the malls. We see our white counterparts having discussions with their children. And, we over on the side laughing because, they're saying, Ashley, why do you want to wear this purple polka dotted shirt with this tutu and the halo, the little halo thing on your head? And why do you like this color? And they're having discussions with their children. It is cultural for us to basically tell our children what to do. Right. There's no questioning us. There's no back and forth conversation. It's just, no, you're gonna do this, you're gonna wear this, you're not gonna have me in here looking crazy with stripes and polka dots in the same outfit. We're not doing that. And that's just a small example, but those conversations that our counterparts are having with their kids actually build critical thinking skills.
Yes.
Okay. It builds critical thinking skills. It builds their vocabulary, and word gap is the number one thing holding our children back. Okay.
Mention that, Miss Morrison.
Exactly. And so therefore they don't have, that impedes reading skills. Lack of reading skills actually even brings math skills down.
Yes, it
does.
Because
I've had so many kids, and let me tell you, I started out with mostly teaching science in high school, and I had to leave Miss Sibert and the rest of my community in the high school, and I actually went and taught elementary school because I'm like, what in the world is going down there? And let me tell you, it was very heart-wrenching. I had a student who was excellent at math. Excellent. He was in the 4th grade. But then when it came time to take the 4th grade EOG, he would fail it.
Right.
Because why? The EOG, which is the end of grade test for those of you who are unfamiliar, is all word problems.
Right.
And if they don't understand what the question is asking because they are not good readers, then guess what? They're not going to answer it correctly.
Right.
So therefore, reading is very, very extremely important. And we learn to read easily if we are talking, if we are having conversations. That builds our vocabulary. Okay. Right. And so that's it. When I counted, when my kids got older, I had to go in and hey, we got to get all these little elementary books out of the house because they've outgrown them. I stopped counting at 250 books. Wow. They were under the couch and the couch cushions, up under the bed, on the shelves. I had about 250 books in my house. Oh, wow. I donated. I stopped counting at that because every single night I read to my children. Okay. And and then at some point when they learned how to read, then they started reading to me every night.
Right.
This is important. It is very important. It is too late. By the time they are in even middle school, they have developed an attitude, whether it's positive or whether it's negative, about education. And let me tell you something. It is once they develop a negative attitude about education, it is hard to change.
It is.
Something major has to happen for them to change a negative attitude about education. So it is imperative to their parents to develop a positive attitude in their child about education. Now, sometimes it is a parent who's had a negative attitude about education. So it's hard for them to develop this. And this is when someone else has to come in and help. They have to get help from a community member or another relative, whatever. Okay. But
Right.
I'll tell you what, it has to be done because 10th grade is too late. 8th grade is too late.
Yes, exactly. Miss Morrison, if I could segue off of something that you said earlier, you said something very interesting, which toggled my memory. And what you said about some of the conversations, you hear in the grocery stores and when you're out in the public about, other, cultures asking their child, and helping to develop their critical thinking skills. And right. And so since you mentioned that, I had a student. I actually taught her sister. Her sister's now in college. Now they're from Kenya, and this student reached out to me and asked me if I would help her sister with a science project, help her to grow microorganisms because she knew when she was in my class that's what she did. So I helped her. I said, sure. We know how African students are. They're on it, and so. Her father, and this girl's in middle school. Her father brought her out to I went out to my classroom on a Sunday because I had already given her the material she needed, the auger, the petri dishes. She was growing microorganisms. But when her father brought her to my classroom, how you doing, Jill? Her father was asking her questions. So I would show her, I set my microscopes up. She came. She would look through the microscopes. I mixed up a stain solution so she could stain the microorganisms, look at them, identify them up under the microscope, and then create her lab report. Her father was asking her. So when you said that jogged my memory. Her father was like, ask Miss Sibert, why did she do this? And why did she do? And so he was asking her. It caused her to, she was thinking and it caused her to have to use critical thinking skills. So, and then there was a little equation that I had to give her. I show her how to do it so you can determine how many microorganisms you have in your petri dish. And I gave her the equation. I said, this is how you do it. And her father was like, ask me, Sibert, why? So what you said, that is dead on point. Critical thinking skills. If we don't help to develop those, we're never going to bridge the gap.
Exactly.
How you doing, Lady Libra, Patricia? Everyone, please hit the like button for me. That's all we ask. That will help share this content out. If you have Facebook, share it on Facebook. Let's bring some more people into the conversation. So, Miss Morrison, would you go ahead? You can go ahead and continue. I'm going to see who's in the comment section and what they're saying. Okay.
I'll tell you, one of the worst phrases in our culture is because I said so.
Yeah.
That's not. No, explain it to them.
Right.
Because if you do this is the bad thing that's gonna happen. I explain it to them.
Exactly. Exactly.
They need a real reason as to why they shouldn't go over and touch the stove while it's hot. They give them a reason.
Exactly. And so that's why, like I said, I noticed, people have a lot of questions about education. And also, to segue what you said earlier, parents who've had a negative experience so far as the educational system is concerned, they portray that onto their child. So their child already comes to the school not expecting anything positive. They listen to the stories of their parents. Guys, you help create that narrative. So if you've already, projected your negative experiences onto your child or grandchildren, if you're raising grandchildren, that's an uphill battle that is difficult for us to win. And so, because you're responsible for building the foundation, and as Miss Morrison said, if we, and I've even read some studies where some women are even reading books to their child in the womb, as she said, it starts in the womb.
Exactly.
And you help to build the foundation. Then when you turn them over to us, we have a little more to work with.
Right.
So Mike says you need to start early when it comes to education. I probably could have been speaking at least 4 languages between both of my parents. Oh wow, Mike. Oh wow. Yeah.
Exactly. And learning other languages, the younger the child is, the easier it is for them to learn different languages.
Yeah.
Because by the time they're 18,
Right.
a lot of those pathways I mean, it's physical.
Yeah.
Those neural pathways are dead by the time they get, or by the time we get a certain age.
Right. And Game Time Brian says, my experience is the schools have gotten away from teaching our kids how to write cursive. It needs to start early. Yeah, and you know, they started with the Common Core, and that's another whole can of worms.
All I want to say about cursive, like I said, I've taught elementary school. We don't have the time to teach your child cursive writing. Let me tell you something. If you want your child to learn something, check to see if they teach it in school. If they don't, you need to teach them at home. You can go on Google and type in cursive writing practice and download those little dot. You remember those little dot things, those that you could trace?
Oh yeah.
Hey, print them out and teach your own kid how to write cursive. We don't have time for that. That's just to be honest with you. We don't have time for that. We don't have time to teach your child how to tell time on an analog clock. We don't have time to teach your kids a lot of things that were taught in school. Yeah. We just don't, because of all the testing that we have to do, and all of the different classes that they have to go to. That's a lot of transition time. They have to line up outside, then you have to walk them over, then you got time to walk them back. That's a lot of time outside of the classroom. They have all these different groups that they got to get into. There is no time. If you want your child to learn it, then teach it yourself.
Right.
Because listen, a lot of people think that it's up to the school system to educate your child. You are ultimately responsible to make sure your child is educated, not the school system. You listen, let me tell you, you see what the federal government is like, right? It's broken. You see what the state government is like, right? It's broken. Why are you relying on a broken system to educate your child? That's crazy. Come on now. Really? You see it's racist, it's broken, it's disjointed, it's divided. Why would you rely on that to educate your child? Do it yourself. And you know what? You have Google to help you. Don't rely on a broken system to educate your child. That doesn't even make sense. Now they're talking about critical race theory, and people are all up in arms about that. You know who's not worried about critical race theory? Other races.
Right.
You know who's worried about critical race theory? Black people. Why are Black people worried about critical race theory? When I was teaching fourth grade, I also taught social studies. I wish I could show you what's in the social studies book about Black people and slaves. It is ridiculous. None of it is accurate. Why would you want somebody else to tell your story? You know who taught my kids about our race? I did. I taught our kids about our race because I wanted to teach our story correctly. People in China teach their own kids about Chinese ancestors. People in Bolivia teach their own kids about Bolivian history. Why are we the only people who feel we can't tell our story?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, every other culture, if you want your child to have the correct information, that's why if you look at Jewish parochial schools, they teach their history. They don't, other groups, you can't rely. And now people are just finding out a lot of that information in the history books, it's erroneous.
Incorrect.
So,
you want our oppressor to teach our kids about our history? Doesn't that sound ridiculous?
Yeah. So again, if parents would take time to teach their own, if you want it to be taught correctly, that's something you can do. So when they see that crap in the history books, they can just say, yeah, okay, they'll do their assignments in class, but at least they'll know that it's incorrect. If not, they're just going to be like, oh, okay. And it shocked me. It shocked me. I had my students to do, we were learning about crop rotation and all of Dr. George Washington Carver's many inventions. He has over 300 patents. Look it up. Right. And I asked my students to raise their hand. How many of you have ever heard of Dr. George Washington Carver? I may have had 2 students out of about 27 to raise
Right.
that. So again, folks, we've got to get the information out. I mean, and obviously I have a heterogeneous mixture of students, but still, I mean, I had Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. They've never heard of them, and they're in high school. So I was like, wow. So, I had a video and they did a little worksheet activity. We did our discussion about him and, his contributions to science. So again, folks, the school can't do it all. And as Miss Morrison shared with you, I shared with you, sometimes that information in those textbooks.
Wrong.
Wrong.
It's dead wrong.
Right.
And I don't even teach. I don't even teach with textbooks. And that's the thing I don't understand about this whole thing about books anyway. Because I taught 26 years. I never used a textbook, so I don't need. I'm on my game. I don't need textbooks to teach.
Right.
I don't even know where that's from anyway.
Right. So Brian said, Game Time Brian says, my kids are out of school, but it's not good for the future with single parents trying to work and make sure their kids have good education. It's tough. And Brian, that's an excellent fact, particularly for, single parent homes. You have parents, they're just trying to survive. So Miss Morrison, would you have any suggestions for those parents who may not have the time to devote to a child?
That's a good question. I know my church has tutoring. We have a tutoring program. And one thing that we tried is that while we had it on Wednesday night, whenever we have Bible study. And so while the adults are in Bible study, we actually had a tutoring session going on, we call it like a homework session, but it was tutoring going on too. So we had some adults that actually are teachers at our school, they teach in our community, and they would help kids with their homework and tutoring in another building on our church grounds. Okay. But you need to and there are a lot of also schools that have after school tutoring as well that you can sign your kids up for, and you got to make it a priority. Look, let me tell you, and yourself that you've seen kids whose parents will allow them to play basketball, will allow them to play football, and they have no problem allowing them to do that and picking them up after school from practice or coming to games. But the child say, I need to stay for tutoring, or there's some tutoring sessions, and I don't have a ride for you.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up. So parents, and I've seen it in your many years of education, you've seen it. When we do offer tutoring programs, parents have come up with 1,000,001 excuses as to why their child can't attend. However, they'll have them at basketball practice at 5:00 in the morning. No problems.
Yeah. Or they'll let them come to the dance so they can get a ride home from the dance.
Right.
But they can't they can't let them get a ride home from tutoring.
Exactly.
It's time to prioritize. Let me tell you something. The most valuable thing that a person can have is an education.
Thank you.
And especially an education or skill beyond high school. Because again, and I know I said this a couple of weeks ago, these are the people who are going to be taking care of you when you are old. You want them to have a good education.
Kind of sort of need that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to eat 2 for $5 when I'm 80.
Crazy. Yes. So New Order said parents must prioritize their children. Yeah. So and Game Brian said, I remember the smartest kids in school were usually from Asia or another country. Yes, English was their second language. It always made me think about our work ethic. Game Time, Brian, you hit it right, the nail right there on the head. I've noticed that too. My students, from Asia and Africa. I just mentioned one earlier. I mean, they are all about education. I told you I went to the school on Sunday because this girl in middle school, how you doing, New Orders? I went when someone wants to learn or needs help with an experiment, and this was a Sunday. I don't know of any American student that would have done that. So,
right.
Yeah. So different priorities. So you're right. So Miss Morrison, could you talk to us about more that parents could do? Now you mentioned church. What about are there any other community resources that you may be aware of that they could sort of reach out to?
Well, there are some organizations. I can't remember the name of the organization, but there was an actual organization that came into when I worked at the elementary school. I can't remember the name of it, but there are some organizations that are community organizations that will come in and do tutoring as well. Matter of fact, they came in during the day and kind of pulled the kids aside that needed help, and some of them went inside the classroom and helped certain kids that needed, a little bump or needed a little pal, to sit at the desk with them and encourage them. And you just got to look around for it. There are resources out there, but the thing is to try to prevent it. And one thing that you definitely can do is to have a relationship with and get to know the teacher.
Yes.
Especially on the elementary, middle school level, get to know the teachers. I'm going to tell you, whenever you get to know the teacher on a personal level, that makes all the difference in the world, because now that's not listen, teachers are human. And if a teacher has never seen the parent and, come in and talk, hey, sometimes that child can get pushed to the side, not physically, but mentally.
Right.
This child is having trouble. And I have sent notes home with this child. I've got no response from the parent. And they can clearly see that the child is not doing well in my class. And, according to the report cards, I haven't heard anything from the parent. I've sent notes home. Hey, if they don't care, I don't care. If they don't mind their child having D's and F's, why do I care? They ain't my kid. I got enough on my plate.
I've never understood that.
Show up.
I've never understood that, to have a child in your class an entire semester fail all 3 terms, fail your class, but and have never heard from the parent. Never.
When you hear from them, when they find out that child not graduating and not getting out their house, they knocking on the door then.
Right.
Well, they not graduating? No. Well, can't you give them no, I'm not changing that grade. That's grade tampering. I'm not doing that.
You say you're trying to figure out what you yeah, so Mike says everyday life skills are left up to the individual to learn on their own. New orders, parents must prioritize. We talked about that one already. Game time Brian says foreign kids appreciate the opportunity, I guess. Facts, Brian, land of opportunity. I don't know exactly what the answer is. It about testing 24/7. Okay, very good.
This is and I want to respond to that. That's about culture.
Yeah.
There are some, let me tell you something. Most of the time, from what I can see, is there are other countries that want to make it to America.
Right.
They want to get here.
Right.
So they figure if I can be smart enough to make enough money so I can get to America, with the land of opportunity,
right,
I'm good.
Right.
Because most of the cultures that they can't walk here, then that means that they have to be smart enough and make enough money that they can fly here.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So they can be a doctor or a business owner, and so therefore education is important. Right. Education seems to be very important in every other country except this one.
Facts.
Okay, because this is probably the only country where you can be poor and still have an actual roof over your head, a real floor under your feet, and still have a big screen TV to look at.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad you said that. Vicky Council, facts, Vicky. She said you don't hear from them until it's time to put the grades in the grade book, and you're like, oh, haven't heard from you the entire. I mean, I can't count how many parents have done that. And guys, we're on timelines that we have to have our grades submitted. Now, I get from you the 11th hour. I'm supposed to drop everything and grade all this work. No.
Well, they asked y'all that. They ain't asked me that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any extra work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Tina says, live next to a youth center. When dropping off for football, baseball practice, parents always on the phone instead of speaking with their children in the same car, using practice as a babysitter. Very good, Tina. Leslie, I agree.
They probably got homework to do.
Right. And Mike said my mom had to plan her lesson plans around what the administration wanted instead of what she needed to teach her students. That can be a problem somewhere. And of course, that varies depending on where you
Well, honestly, that's one reason. So 400,000 teachers have gotten out of the profession around the country.
Just tired of it. Reese Cup, exchange students from Ireland said it's easier here and the students are coddled. Facts, Reese.
They are.
New Waters. I have 25 years of teaching experience in elementary school, and it horrified me when I haven't met a parent of one of my students. Entrusting the care of your child to someone you haven't met.
Exactly.
I mean, who does that? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend.
Exactly. I sent my resume out to all of my students, and they thought I was showing off.
Right.
Number one, I'm showing off because I want you to know who I am and who's teaching your child.
Right.
And the fact that I'm overqualified to teach your child.
Right.
Second, you need to know who I am and who's teaching your child.
Right. So New Waters, oh my God, I'm still stuck on what New Waters said. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. We spend more time with your child than you do, but you don't know who I am. You don't know anything about me.
I was a teacher that showed up at your house.
Rhonda.
They opened the door. I went and knocked on the door, and because there was a parent that needed the book I wrote because it was piss poor parenting at home.
Right.
Knocked on the door. Hello, yes, ma'am. They're like, who are you? First of all, that's very sad because you need to know you should know who I am. Been teaching your kid for 6 months.
Wow.
So here's my book. Read it, please. Your child can't read, so you read it.
Oh God, Jesus. Help me. Oh.
You should be able to read in the 4th grade.
That's right. Sugar Daddy said, I grew up in a family with teachers, knew all of my son's teachers, principals, coaches. Very good, Sugar Daddy. Sugar Daddy, that old school. Brian said, Game Time Brian, the sad part is a lot of parents treat school as a daycare. Right, Brian? I said this a lot. They think that we are babysitters. I said, no, newsflash. I didn't go to school to be a babysitter. But as Game Time Brian said, that's how we're treated.
Yeah.
And I said, no.
Yeah. And my kid, and whenever after testing, then that's what our administrators thought we were supposed to be doing after testing. Right. Oh, well, they don't have to do any work. You can just sit. No. I'm not a babysitter.
Right.
I'm not doing that.
Right.
If you come, I told my students, if you come to class, you're doing the work.
Exactly. Mike said you can trust that your child is getting an education from someone who does that. Handing out your resume to your students, hopefully to the parents. That's true, Mike. New Waters said, Miss Morrison, you are brave to go knocking on the doors. Yeah, Miss Morrison. Miss Morrison was about that life.
I'm about that life. No, because let me tell you, I was also a homebound teacher in Cumberland County, and they gave me all let's just say they gave me all the urban schools. So I'm used to that crowd. Okay. those are my people.
It was about that life. Game Brian said, dump their kids just like I used to coach baseball in school. Parents drop kids off and be late. Game Time Brian, yes, I used to coach soccer. Yes, they would drop them off and we would get, that's why I stopped coaching years ago. We'd get back from a game, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. You're already tired. You got to get up, go and teach the next day. They come when they get ready. So, I know
where they live.
Rhonda,
I got Google Maps. I drop them off in their front door.
Rhonda would drop them off.
I got stuff to do.
Right. So, right game, like I didn't have anything to do myself. Right, Brian gets it. Game time, Brian gets it. So
I know where they live.
Right. So I hope that this was very informative, folks. Reese Cup says she's screaming in the chat section. Mike says, I feel like I'm having a lean on me moment with this stream. You are, Mike. I support Joe Clark. May his soul rest in peace. He passed away last year. I support him and his back and everything else he stood for. If I had my way, that's how the schools would be. I would do like Japan. The people that want to learn, I would have over here in one school. The rest of them will be over here doing whatever. But I would focus on the people that wanted to learn. But see, here we have to, everyone's thrown in the same pot. Right, New Waters, Joe Clark. That's one of my favorite. If you guys don't know, the movie we're talking about is a movie with Morgan Freeman. I think it came out in like 1988, 9.
Yeah.
It's called, the name of the movie is Lean on Me. Check it out.
But there's a principal named Mr. Lopes that was at Jack Britt in Fayetteville, and he's been retired, but people keep calling him out of retirement. He's like the Hispanic Joe Clark, because they called him to a school in South Carolina and wanted him to clean the school out. And he said, now, if you want me to come down now, I have to do it the way I want to do it. And they said, how's that? He said, a whole lot of people going home.
That's it.
And that's exactly what he did. He cleaned that school out. And it was at the bottom on South Carolina. Now it's the number 2 or 3 school in the state.
And that's what needs to happen at all these schools, but they won't do it because it's not.
They won't do it in North Carolina.
No. Let's see. Mike says, I feel like I'm having a lead. Okay, I did that one. Game time, Brian said, Rhonda Morrison be making me wait for her. He got a little fire emoji. Sugar Daddy. Game time, Brian. If I only had $1 for every minute I spent at baseball, football, and basketball practice with my son. New Order said, good for him. So again, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. We will definitely bring Miss Morrison back. I don't want to take too much of her time up. I know she has things to do. I know you guys have things to do. Guys, if you're not already, please hit that like. If you haven't, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let your family and friends know where they can come to learn about educational topics. And I'm also trying to work on some more celebrity interviews. It's been kind of busy here, folks. Thank you, Brian. New Orders. Thank you, New Orders. I think that's a new person in the chat. So thank you for stopping by. They're thanking you. If you guys want Miss Morrison to come back, type it in the comment section, folks. Everyone's saying thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Anytime, y'all.
So you guys, when I end this stream, if there are other topics in education that you would like for us to discuss, you know what you do. Leave it in the comment section. Miss Morrison is well-read and has well over 25 years of teaching experience, and she does a lot of what I do so far as, helping students prepare for life and careers. Everyone's saying amazing show. Thank you. Thank you, New Waters. They're asking you to come back, Miss Morrison. That's what they're asking.
I sure will.
Yeah. So everyone, let's say thank you. We love you, Miss Morrison. And again, if you know of a topic you would like for Miss Morrison to discuss, type it in the comment section once I end this video. Remember, I still have a link for her book. She has written a book on these topics that we're discussing. So Mike says, I was given both a private and public school education. Okay, Mike, maybe we can come back and talk about that one day.
Yeah, let's talk about the private school.
Private schools, yeah. So if you want us to discuss that, please feel free. When I end this broadcast, type in the comment section, folks. Thank you, Vicky. Vicky Council said, great job. And Vicky Lou. All right, guys, enjoy your week. Thank you for spending your very valuable time here at the Rolynn Reviews YouTube channel. And we'll see you here next Sunday, same time, 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Bye-bye.